get so mad, there's no controlling me. My thoughts get so bad, I'm like, oh God, here goes. I lost all feeling from my head to my toes. You said some shit that I can't let go, so just stay tuned for the rest of the show.
Thank you so much for joining me, Jessica. I know we've tried to align our timings and diaries a few times and it hasn't worked out, so I'm over the moon that we've got a bit of time, and I know you're really busy, so I'm very grateful that you've taken some time out to have a chat and catch up. So for those of you who don't know you, can I ask you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, my name is Jessica Sanders. I am the distribution development manager at Appson, United States, where I get the privilege of working within our distribution market and working with our team and facilitating opportunities. A lot of vendor management, things like that when it comes to working within the disty channel and just making sure that we're working smooth. So it's a fun world to be a part of. I've been in the pro AV industry since really I've been pretty young, learning sound at a very young age, and then going to college for music, and then eventually started my own little production company doing some house of worship installs.
Wow.
And then from there, got my teeth cut and really learned the ropes. And from there, started doing some freelancing and doing some really cool stuff, big corporate events and whatnot. And then woke up one day, I'm like, working for a manufacturer seems fun. And at that point, I should have realized what I may have been putting myself in for or wishing for. But in all seriousness, it's been great. I've been focused on LED the last 15 years, 10, 15 years, and it's been a blast. I've really enjoyed it.
Good. It's such a vibrant industry, and
Yeah.
and I think I haven't met anybody yet who didn't fall into it by accident.
Yeah.
We trip into this industry. Nobody, no one is guided at school or college that this is going to be and we're trying to change that. We are
Yeah.
trying to educate and trying to draw in younger talent and create that interest and show that there are career paths. So and do you know what, we need to celebrate stories like yours that actually there is a real career progression if a young person wants it. There's plenty of opportunity, and there's so much variety available in the industry, which is great. So we connected. I'd like to start just to ask you about the post that you wrote a post on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
In March, and I'm going to say it blew me away. It really did. It was very powerful, and I know you had a lot of interest as a result, and a lot of reaction as a result. Rather than me put words into your mouth, why was that the time? Why was that the right time for you to post that? And maybe give us a bit of context of what had come before.
Yeah, absolutely. That post was something. Okay, so that post kind of came out of a few different necessities. One, I had already had what we call facial feminization surgery, and for everyone that's tuned in, I am a transgender woman. I came out on March 1st of this year on LinkedIn, so that's what we're referencing. And I had been, that post came out 1 week before I was having major facial surgery, and I kept it extremely quiet. There's a few people in the industry that knew, close friends, but I tried my best to keep everything just as hush as possible. And part of that, honestly, was out of a fear. I didn't know how it would be taken in the industry. I was legitimately afraid of that, and so part of my progression through everything was I thought, okay, if I could be on hormone treatment for X amount of time and then be right at the point where I come out right before this major surgery, maybe things would be better for me. And that's how my journey worked out. For others, it's completely different. There's no right or even wrong way to transition. I will absolutely say that. But that's how I did it. And like I said, it was mainly out of fear, but at that time I felt like I needed to say something. And so I just kind of wanted to address a few things. And I came out. It was a very heartfelt post. I literally struggled for 2 weeks trying to write that post, and the proverbial wastebasket was just full of crumped up, pages and pages of me just trying to get this right. And I ended up writing all of it Monday morning that the post went live. And I was like, yep, this is exactly what I needed to say. And I came out at that moment. It's like, this is what it is. And I posted it, and I shut my laptop down. And I live in a really cool part in Dallas, Texas, called Deep Ellum, and really kind of this really fun vibe. And I walked down to a local coffee shop, and actually I had some friends that were there, and they're like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I think actually for once in my life, I'm going to be okay. I put the phone on silent. I was basically ignoring things for a couple hours. And then I started picking my phone back up, and it started getting some really crazy traction. And the words of encouragement and the kindness from people in our industry and even in our community, I was blown away. I literally that day was in just kind of in shock, and just so I had hope. And I think from a post like that, receiving hope is one of the most powerful things that a person could ever get from an article. And I had hope that, okay, I can be seen, I can be myself in this industry, and I'm going to be okay. I'm going to
And
be
be
judged.
accepted.
Exactly. And for me, my biggest thing is I want to be judged on the merit of my abilities and my character as a person, and how well I do my job, or how well, I bring a team together, and how will we succeed. And I have no question in my mind, after reading this, all the comments, that's the case. I'm going to be fine. And it was such a powerful moment in my life. And even with that, I had to go down to Orlando 2 days later,
Okay.
and here I was, just came out, trying to figure all this out. And I'd sent my boss an email and saying, I just want you to know that this is what's going on. And he was very kind. And I get down to Orlando and doesn't miss a beat. Our team there was incredible. And just like, using Jessica and she, her pronouns. And I felt so validated, and I felt so secure in who I was. So like having those interactions, and then being at trade shows subsequently, after I healed and went through that process, and then traveling and being at NAB and some of our disty trade shows, it's been an incredible experience. All the kindness and just the well wishes from people. And I'm very excited to see what happens in our industry in the next 5 years, and the conversations we're able to have. And right now, that conversation from some people is, I don't understand it, but I know you as a person, and I really enjoy our relationship, or I enjoy our friendship, or whatever.
You know what, that's at the heart of everything, isn't it?
Yeah.
Every human interaction. I think that's what some people forget. And I don't know whether that's out of fear of the unknown. But honestly, it's so heartwarming to hear that you've had this experience, because I know of friends who had a very different experience.
Yeah.
But how do you feel about Orlando politically? And I mean, you're going to Infocom, right?
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to seeing you in person.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I feel the conflict in terms of the political, one thing I will say, I've read the statement from Avixa in
Yeah.
terms of where they stand and the no tolerance. I think and I've seen some people kind of poke at Avixa as well to say that they're not making enough of a stand. Actually, if you read the statement in full, they've covered everything that they can cover. Avixa don't make laws, so
Right. Yeah,
but people
exactly.
will look to beat up somebody. They're not, but they have made it absolutely clear that they won't tolerate any kind of discrimination. So that's, and then it's down to all of us who are going
Yeah.
to play our part in that as well. And if as grown adults we all need to be policed at the end of the day, it's a professional conference
Right.
for our industry. It's a sad day if we have to police each other to that extent, I think, to make sure that we've got each other's backs.
I completely agree with you. And to answer your question straight on, I don't agree with the law, but that is the law in place. And as a citizen, as someone who respects the rule of law, I will abide by anything that's asked of me. From my understanding of the law, it's if anyone feels uncomfortable, they can ask you to leave. And by all means, I think the best solution for myself, I told some people, because I've been asked this before, it's like, well, I'm going to know where the gender neutral restrooms are. I'm going to know where I can go, where I can feel safe, or use the buddy system, or just make sure that I'm creating an environment that I feel comfortable and that honestly others feel comfortable in as well. The last thing, I think anyone in my purview, I don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable around me. And if that's the case, then I respect that person's I respect that person's opinion, and I hope that if they are saying something, and asking a trans person to leave a restroom, that they are actually doing it out of, maybe, I guess I'm saying is that they're doing it out of a right spirit and right attitude, and not just out of a meanness or hatred towards that person. I think that may be more of a ideological viewpoint on this, but I just hope that there's kindness that happens through this. So,
and that's the bit that I think people forget so quickly. And whatever the discrimination is, right? Whether it's about race, because obviously our colleagues who are people of color are
right,
not going to be made to feel as welcome as they would in other states. So it is a concern, and it is a worry. And because I said, I don't know how I'm going to be accepted, I'm not,
yeah,
but then I get a little kind of, well, but it's not going to stop me. You don't give in to, you try to educate, and you try to actually show that there is something beyond what your perception of somebody is.
right.
And exactly that, I think you said that your colleagues and friends said, we know you, and we know what you're good at. We know that you're good at your job. And these things, it's so refreshing. It's so refreshing.
Yeah.
And yet so lacking in some areas.
I would absolutely agree with you. And this is why I was honestly really excited when we were talking about earlier with this bringing on younger people into Pro AV, because the younger people understand this way better than anyone that's above, my age and above, especially when it comes to pronouns and, preferred verbiage and things like that. With most of my team, I could honestly say, they've not skipped a beat. They've not dropped the ball once. It's been incredible. But there have been some interactions in the industry where have been very kind of, shaky. And it's like, and I literally pulled someone aside at one time, like, hey, you can't say that to me. You would not say that to a single person you know, at this trade show, what gives you the right to think that you could say that to me? And I called this person out, and I'm that's not my attitude. That's never really my spirit, but it had to be said. And I think there's times where those tough conversations absolutely need to be had. And even from the other point, it may just be a, well, I don't know, and that's fine. We can start there. You know,
Yeah.
we can start with an I don't know, and we can work through this. But it comes down to mutual respect for each other, no matter what you believe or don't believe.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take